Now, before I leave you here at the end of the course, let's talk about taking this certification exam. There's going to be 3 movies here. We're going to start with some exam basics. The number one question I get in live classes all the time, how tough is the exam? Well, your experience with this certification exam is going to be based on 3 things, and they're in this order. The first one is your mental approach to the exam. The second is your level of experience with Transact SQL. And the third is going to be your knowledge of Transact SQL. I've seen a lot of people who were intimidatingly intelligent fail these exams because of a mental approach. They were just terrified when they went in there, and they were nervous and they were tight. Experience helps tremendously. Experience is what really brings us true knowledge. But again, your mental approach can shoot that. So be very, very careful. Now, what do I mean by mental approach? I mean, don't walk in there with this fear that you're going to fail the exam. You will just make yourself nervous and probably bring that event about. You want to be very confident, especially as you begin the exam, and I'm going to talk to you about how to really build your confidence early on in the exam. We'll talk about that later on in a separate video. And you also want to make sure that you give yourself a chance to succeed. And you'll give yourself that chance more than once if needed. These exams are tough simply because there's a lot of technical information in them. If you're even at the point that you think you can try this exam, you've come a long way. You've done a lot of hard work and you know a lot of stuff. So don't downplay what you've accomplished to even get to this point. Now, we'll talk more about all of these later on. Now let's talk about experience. You need to get as much hands-on experience with T-SQL as you possibly can. This is right off of Microsoft's website on the page about this exam. This exam is intended for SQL Server database administrators, system engineers, and developers with 2 or more years of experience who are seeking to validate their skills and knowledge in writing queries. Microsoft's expecting you to have 2 years of on-the-job experience. If you don't, then that just tells you you've got to get lots of hands-on experience. Can you pass without 2 years hands-on? Yes, you can. You'll just have to study and work hard and make sure that it's all making sense to you. Now, don't just read about a topic. You cannot learn any kind of coding by reading about it. You'll have to get out there in the SQL Server Management Studio and code it. Start with some simple, easy to understand examples, just like the one I put all throughout this course, and then build from there. Make sure you use learning resources that are Microsoft-based. Keep in mind, you're taking a Microsoft exam. In the real world, this is how it ought to be done, exam. If you go in there and you try to pick out the way you would do it, the way some really smart person that you know has done it, keep in mind you may be not choosing the Microsoft answer. Okay, so that exam is not the place to air your disagreements or your irritations with Microsoft. And you probably have 1 or 2. Under knowledge, read SQL books online or other Microsoft-based SQL material. Forget that exam. You'll never understand everything you need to know about SQL Server, so just continue to read, continue to study, make it a steadily progressive action. The more you know, the better you are, and the better you are, the more you know. Refer to the exam objectives on Microsoft's website. If you just go to www.microsoft.com, search for exam 461, look at the skills measured section, and just read over those. The broader your understanding, the easier the exam will be. Go through that skills measured section. If you see something there that doesn't, just click immediately with what it is, how it works, why you do it, how you code it, then go study that and go get some examples on it. Now, you cannot know or understand it all, so forget about that. You're going to see questions on the exam that you won't have a clue about. You'll see questions on the exam and you'll wonder if you're in the correct exam. Nobody knows it all. If someone tells you they know it all, just know they'll lie to you about other stuff too. Okay, there's just too much here. So welcome to development. There's always something else to learn. You'll always learn something tomorrow that you wish you had known 2 weeks ago. Don't get psyched out when it happens on the exam. When you see something on the exam that's absolute news to you, you had no idea that would work or that was even possible, don't get psyched out. Just go to the next question. I'm going to talk about that more later. Also, make sure you write this down somewhere. Understanding a technology, understanding a functionality, and memorizing something about it is 2 very different things. And if you walk into this exam having memorized a bunch of information or read a bunch of stuff about coding, you're going to walk out of there with a fail. I can almost guarantee you that. Microsoft structures their exams to not ask you direct questions, but ask you questions that you have to understand how the pieces and parts fit together and how the technology works to arrive at the right answer. So that's the basics on this exam. That's the best advice I can give you for preparation. And coming up next, we're going to talk about how to take this exam. There are right ways and wrong ways to go about taking it. Don't ask me how I know, okay? See you there.